Have you ever wondered why there are so many different ways in which people communicate in Singapore? For example, when you find yourself speaking in Mandarin when you're ordering food at a kopitiam, or when you slip into Singlish when you're hanging out with your friends.
Hey, you want to go kopitiam now?
Most of us don't notice it, but this all ties in with our ethnicities and races. This is especially fascinating to explore in Singapore's multiracial social landscape. Why does this happen? How does our race and ethnicity affect the way we use language in Singapore? Let's find out. First things first, what exactly is ethnicity and race? Are they the same thing?
Well, the short answer is no. As defined by Britannica, race is the idea that humans are divided into distinct groups on the basis of inherited physical and behavioral differences. Race is largely biological. In Singapore, we have people from a variety of races. There are four main race categories recognized by the government, namely Chinese, Malay, Indian, and others. The CMIO categorization is the dominant model of race in Singapore. This framework is important in Singapore as quite a number of government policies use it. Ethnicity, on the other hand, does not necessarily run in our blood. It's a socially constructed concept based on cultural traits which a society perceives as integral. Important traditions, festivals, as well as cultural and religious practices are deemed as significant markers of ethnic identity. As race is biological, while ethnicity is cultural, many ethnicities can exist within a single race. Ethnicity is tied to dialects and languages spoken throughout Singapore's history, and they have all played a large part in building Singapore's culture, but also left their mark in the variety of English we speak today, Singlish. But first, what exactly is meant by the term dialect?
Dialect, as defined by the Singaporean government, refers specifically to any Chinese language apart from Mandarin. These were termed dialects in a move to align with the political stance held by China on Chinese languages. However, in this video, we will simply refer to them as different languages. Historically, the Chinese community formed the largest ethnic group in Singapore due to a sudden surge in Chinese migrants hailing from provinces in southeastern China. Majority of the Chinese migrants who came from Fujian and Guangdong were linguistically adept in Cantonese, Hokkien, Hakka, or Teochew. During the 1990s, individuals in the Malay community declared themselves as Javanese, Boyanese, Bugis, Banjaris, Bataks, Minangkabaus, Riau Malays, and Orang Laut. They may have all initially brought their own varieties of Malay to the island, but language shift has led to most Malay Singaporeans using Bahasa Melayu. Meanwhile, for the Indian community, while Indian immigrants to Singapore in the past were predominantly Tamil, there are several other linguistic and ethnic groups including Telugus, Malayalis, Punjabis, Bengalis, and Sinhalese. So, what do these languages look like today?
In recent times, it is a growing concern that these unique and culturally significant languages might go extinct at our very hands. Back in the 1960s, where Chinese languages were commonplace, the government tried to discourage the use of these languages in favor of one common language. This was because they believed these languages were divisive to our society, while one common language encouraged solidarity. For the Chinese community, from 1980 to 1990, the percentage of predominantly Chinese language speaking households decreased significantly from 76% to 48%. Thus, as Chinese Singaporeans attained proficiency in Mandarin, the usage of other Chinese languages started to decline drastically because of the following three reasons. First, the Speak Mandarin campaign was launched in 1979. The efficacy of this campaign was observed through the changing language habits of Chinese Singaporeans. Secondly, due to the lack of formal education for the languages, Chinese languages are passed down only if the generations that are fluent in it culturally transmit the language. This shift in language use is also a result of more Chinese Singaporeans adopting English as their home language, from 19.3% in 1990 to 28.7% in 2005.
Something intriguing about these languages though, especially Hokkien, is that they are often used in our daily communication for the sole purpose of cursing. Such observations highlight the creative social practice which Singaporeans have adopted, perhaps indicative of the inherent value of these languages as a medium for humor. Usage of vulgarities in these languages goes against societal norms and institutions. It is thus an indicator of rebellion and contributes to one's covert prestige in a conversation with one's friends. Additionally, did you know that these languages play significant contributions to the naming of places in Singapore? For example, Yew is Oi Pond in Teochew and Ang Mo Kio means Rambutan Bridge in Hokkien. Malay-derived street names are also seen everywhere in Singapore. Bukit, meaning hill, is used in several regions in Singapore. Other examples include lorong, meaning alley, and jalan, meaning street. What's more is, Singapore's biggest MRT station has a name derived from Hindi. Dobi refers to washerman or one that does laundry in Hindi, while Got refers to a series of steps leading down to a body of water. Together, it means washerman's place. Its name holds historical significance that many Singaporeans are oblivious to. As such, these languages are intertwined with the naming of public places in Singapore, which reveals the historical experience attached to the names. Naturally, with the combination and mishmash of various ethnic groups in Singapore, a new contact language was born. This is primarily due to the pertinent code switching between English and the different languages spoken by all these ethnic groups. The significance it has in our society today is truly fascinating. Let's explore.
What is Singlish? In Singapore, English is recognized as the nation's lingua franca due to its function as a neutral language. There are two main varieties of English in Singapore, namely Singapore Standard English, SSE, and Singapore Colloquial English, SCE, also known as Singlish. Singlish may be perceived as a hallmark of Singapore's multi-ethnic social milieu. As Singapore is a linguistically diverse nation, Singlish evolved as a variety of English that encompasses elements of languages such as Hokkien, Cantonese, Teochew, Malay, and Tamil. From 1965, English was seen as a neutral language among the various races in Singapore, so it could act as a unifying factor, allowing for inter-ethnic communication, with no race gaining an unfair advantage. A diglossic relationship is formed between Singlish and Singapore Standard English. Singaporeans have a tendency to switch between these two varieties depending on social context. For instance, SSE is the high variety used in formal settings, while the low variety, Singlish, is used in non-formal situations such as amongst family and friends. SSE is used largely in government, the news, and education, whereas Singlish is used in the informal settings. However, this is not a straight guideline, and actual language use can be represented by a letter continuum or scale from SSE to SCE. It can be argued that Singlish builds solidarity to establish intimacy and to lessen the social distance among people. How are different races' mother tongues used in Singlish?
As mentioned previously, Singlish is made up of a mix of various languages from different ethnic groups in Singapore. For instance, the Malay loanword alamak and kena, the use of what at the end of a sentence to turn it into a question, and the famous intensifier la, which Singaporeans perceive to be the hallmark of Singlish. The word kopitiam is made up of two words, kopi, meaning coffee in Malay, and tiam, taken from the Hokkien word for shop. Additionally, gundu, used to refer to a slightly less than intelligent person, is a Tamil word meaning fat. Isn't it interesting to see how Singlish has influences and loanwords from such a wide range of ethnicities?
Sibei cool, sia.
Tiam lah!
In conclusion, we have looked at the difference between race and ethnicity, as well as the languages that exist in Singapore. We also discussed the effect of race on the way we use language. Knowing all of this, do you believe ethnic languages should be preserved ardently? How far do you think Singlish can be used as a marker of national identity? Thank you for watching. Bye!